So I'm gonna do a book review video, and let's get started. So this book I read, it's my first time I ever read Ernest Hemmingway, and this is called The Old Man in the Sea. And like I said before, I always try to read one classical literature book or play or something. And this book, this was one of them. I got this at a library book sale, and it's 127 pages, so it was like a one-day read. And this is what it looks like. And I don't know, I thought that it was a sort of boring book, because I really didn't like it, because it sounded like one of those things where it was like, you know, when your dad or your brother or your uncle or whatever, whoever goes fishing, even like you, in general, you always are like those ones that are like, oh, like the big one got away and the next time I'll get the big fish or whatever. It was sort of kind of like that, in my opinion. So I really didn't like it. I mean, it was an easy read because it was only like 127 pages, but I didn't like it. And I don't know if it was like one of like his best works at all. Like, I know like some of his works were good, like Roman Bell Tolls and I forget what the other one is. Crap, I forget what the other one is. So this one is all about improbable questions. So this is Puzzling and Improbable Questions and Answers. It's called Do Fish Drink Water by Bill McLain. And it's not all about it's not all about do fish drink water, to be honest. It's not. So it looks like it's just about, each chapter is divided into different subjects, and it's about different questions that go along with it. Like, there's government ones, there's animal ones, human ones, random ones, shopping ones, stuff like that. And it was a really good book. I really liked it. It was really, really good. This book was a thumbs down. It sucked. I didn't even finish it because it was that bad. And this is called Atlantis, the autobiography of a search by Robert Ferro and Michael Grumley, a psychic and a real journey to find the lost continent as prophesied by Edgar Cayce. This is what it looks like. Now, the reason why I didn't like this book was because it had lots of weird terminology in it. Like, first it talked about all these different, like, big words, big science words that if you don't like science, or you never got into it or whatever, you probably don't want to read this book, because there's lots of like scientific terms in it that I don't even understand. And it's really weird. Like, it goes based on, like, I think it's based on this, it's one of the author's point of view throughout the whole book. It's not like both of them, it's just one of them. And the prologue tells about how they go to this old lady who reads tarot cards, stuff like that. She's like a fortune teller. And she tells them that they're going to go on like this adventure to find something big. And it turns out they wanted to find Atlantis. So it talks, the first part, that was a prologue, and the second part was the whole book. And it was like in sections, so it wasn't like just one chapter, it was in sections. So it was 4 chapters in it, because it was like earth, wind, fire, and air. That's the 4 sections, because they're the 4 elements. So anyway, it was about the first couple parts I read, and it was really bad. Like, it talked about like their adventure. It was telling them about, okay, like, we're going on this adventure, and they don't get into like the scientific stuff about. It would flow into like the scientific stuff about Atlantis, and then go into scientific stuff about one of the author's dreams they had and what it meant. It was just really weird. So I don't recommend. Well, nobody would probably read that book anyway, but don't read that book. This is the new Stephen King book that came out. You could probably still get it at Walmart or your book store or whatever. There's a bug like flying around, so sorry if you see it in my video. This is called The End of Watch. It's the 3rd book in the Mr. Mercedes series. The first book was called Mr. Mercedes, and the second book was called Finders Keepers, and this is called End of Watch. And this is by Stephen King, like I said. And the cover is really cool, and the cover makes sense with what's going on in the book, so you guys know, so you're not like, why is there fish on this book? This is what it looks like. And what this book is about it has the same characters in it like the other series in this in this trilogy, I should say. Sorry guys, my arm's getting tired. And what it's about Hodges, Kermit William Hodges. He has to solve this mystery of why these people are dying after they play these Z-Boy handheld video games. And the one is called the Fishing Hole, and it has all these different color of fish in it, and you have to get the pink fish to win a prize or something. And they have to add up to like different numbers and whatever. And then what happens is these kids get hypnotized by this game, and in the game, like, there's all these different, like, things, and then there's, like, this voice that talks to them during the game, and then makes them try to kill them or themselves, and stuff like that. And it was really good. Like, the one part that was really predictable was what happens to Hodges in the end of the book. It's like the epilogue of the book, sort of. It says something, and then it says 4 days later. And then it gets into like 6 months later or something. And the 6 months later part is really predictable in this case because of what happens to him, or what happens to him in the book. This book was, it was okay. And if you like the royals, like the ones in England and stuff, like I like the ones, I like learning about the England ones. And this is called The Royal Marriages by Lady Colin Campbell. This is what it looks like. It was like an iffy book. Like the prologue was about it talked about the history. Like it was like a couple pages long, and it talked about the history of royal marriages, of why. I guess it was like a thing of why, because the 3 or 4 kids the queen has married commoners. So they were talking about those 3 marriages. So they were talking about Princess Anne's, Prince Charles, Andrew's, and then they were talking about, what were they talking about? I think her sister, maybe? I think those were the 4 that they talked about. And it was okay. Like, it was sort of like each couple chapters were still about the same person. And it talked about why royal marriages always get divorced when they marry commoners or something. So it started out with, like, the queen's dad. And then they got into her and her marriage to Prince Philip. And then the next 2 or 3 chapters were about Charles, and the next ones were about Anne, and the next ones were about Andrew, and then her sister. I think that's who it was about, her sister, I think. And it was okay. Like, there were some, like, pages in here that were, like, picture pages about, like, some of their weddings and stuff. Some pictures of, like, them together, the couple they were talking about. It really wasn't that good. Like, to be honest, it wasn't that good. So, the next book I have is about the presidents. It's called Presidents of the United States. Great title. And it's called it's by Edward Gray. This is what it looks like. It's a big book. But it was about, of course, it was about the presidents, but it only went up to Ronald Reagan. So it's not an up-to-date presidential book. And it was nice. It was sort of like a biography, like a little biography. Like the first part of it, the first like little section was about a brief synopsis of what they did in the presidency, and then the second section was about their each president. Like it was about like, it was about like, okay, you get to George Washington. George Washington's the first one. And it would say a synopsis about his presidency and how good of a president he was, how bad a president he was. And then the second little section was about their like, childhood. And it was, like, a brief childhood thing. And then they got into how they won the election. And then they got into what happened in the presidency. I can't talk today. So, it was good. It was a good book. And there were some pictures in it. And it was really good. Like, it's not a big book. It's not like 2,000 pages long on each president. It's only about maybe like 2 or 3, depending on how long their term was, or if they got assassinated or something. But yeah, it was really good. And like the ones that got assassinated, like McKinley and Harrison or Garfield or whatever, there were lots of, but they didn't just say, oh, like this president was blah 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 and didn't last that long or whatever. They actually had some things in there that I didn't really know about those presidents, except for the fact that they died in office or whatever. So, comment below and tell me some of your books that you liked for this month. Give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time with another video. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.